The first hint that I heard that Pelosi might have been deformed by a false Catholic education was in a comment of hers gushing about Pope Francis in 2013. She said, quote, "He's sounding like the nuns." She said she was talking, by the way, about Pope Francis's liberal stances. Have a look for yourself.
Starting to sound like a nun. The Pope is starting to sound like the nuns. His Holiness is obviously a very revered figure. I was there for his inauguration, and I, being Catholic, believe that he was chosen Pope by the intercession of the Holy Spirit. So I pay attention to what he says, and I can tell you that there's great joy among Catholics and friends of Catholics as to the respect that His Holiness pays to all of God's creation and members of the Church, and then beyond that. It's really quite remarkable. It's a source of joy to us all.
It is remarkable. I'm not sure it's a source of joy to all Catholics, simply because I've seen conservative Catholics express some reservations about
Well, I don't know about them, because certainly when it was another Pope who had something else to say, they had something, they wanted to hold us all to it.
So what was that false Catholic education she received that so distorted the faith her family tried to pass on to her? Well, the answer comes in a fascinating article by Kevin Carey, published in the 2011 Washington Monthly. It's about Trinity Women's College in Washington, D.C., founded by the Sisters of Notre-Dame de Namur from France. The article inadvertently reveals the rebellion against the Church's teaching that the nuns lived and evidently passed on to their students. It reveals lame attempts by the Church hierarchy to correct the nuns, all the while allowing them to continue to deform the faith in many young women. And finally, it reveals the disastrous consequences not only for those women, but for their children and their grandchildren and all of society. In that article, author Kevin Carey speaks of Trinity College alumni, including two of the most prominent female pro-abortion politicians in U.S. history. In addition to Nancy Pelosi, there's also Kathleen Sebelius, who, after serving as the governor of Kansas, was the Secretary of Health and Human Services in the Obama administration. Trinity also boasts many other leading women, and according to Carey, and I quote, "When Forbes magazine recently published," that's recently in 2011, by the way, recently published its list of the 100 most powerful women in the world, only Princeton undergraduate alumni outnumbered those of tiny, little-known Trinity College, end quote. The distortion of the faith these nuns passed on to their students is revealed by Carey. He notes that in 1984, two of the nuns from the college, and I quote, "joined 23 other nuns and priests and brothers to sign a pro-choice statement that was published in the New York Times." And I continue with the article, "The Vatican reacted angrily and forced all the other signers to make public declarations of adherence to Catholic doctrine on abortion. Only the two sisters," and those are the two from Trinity College, "refused," end quote. Unbelievable. So Carey continues, and I quote again, "The Vatican demanded that they be dismissed from the order, and the order refused that too," end quote. So, those nuns continued their rebellion until the day the article was written. And I quote, because this is written at a time when Pelosi becomes the speaker. And so the article says, and I quote, "Pelosi attended a special morning mass in Trinity's small stone chapel, sitting in the front pew surrounded by her many grandchildren." Then he adds that Sister Claydon, one of the current sisters in the order, was in the audience. Anti-abortion protesters picketed outside. A few weeks earlier, President McGuire, that's the president of the college, had preemptively called the Archbishop of Washington to inform him that she had no intention of canceling the Mass, end quote. There were, of course, many more of these types of influences on Nancy Pelosi that distorted her faith, including the scandalous example of Father Drinnan. But that's for another story.